Are you a 7 to 9 figure Muslim entrepreneur, investor, or senior corporate executive? If so, we have a network of 7 to 9 figure entrepreneurs, executives, and investors. When they come together for one purpose: deal flow, connections, access. They do things to solve each other's problems, whether it be tax related, legal, B2B partnerships with big corporate enterprise companies that you are trying to get deals with. They know the contact to set the meeting up between you guys like within an hour. That's literally happening inside of our network. And it's global, it's international, it's online, it's also in person. So if you'd like to apply, click the link below, inshallah ta'ala, and hopefully we can get you inside. Assalamu alaikum. So you need to get things done, and you need to get things done well in order to make money, in order to have impact, in order to achieve. And many of us do things. We work very hard. We spend a lot of hours, but we don't necessarily get the desired result. And you can hear all of this stuff about productivity online, and let's be honest, most of the stuff is whack. You and I both know it. We watch these videos because it gives us a dopamine hit, but you don't actually move the needle forward. I have a network of 7 to 9 figure Muslim entrepreneurs, investors, and senior corporate executives. So in any given day, I am constantly in touch with the top 1% of practitioners when it comes to business. I'm also in touch with scholars and students of knowledge. So the top 1% in terms of deen and dunya, I'm constantly in touch with them and I learn from them. And I want to share with you 3 things, that I have learned in the last month. And the reason why I mentioned this last month is because we've just launched our network called The Cave, which is for 7 to 9 figure entrepreneurs, investors, and senior corporate executives. A place for them to come together, connect, do deals, strategic partnerships, B2B relationships, investment opportunities, so on and so forth. And this has been one of the greatest accomplishments of my life, launching this network, alhamdulillah. And when I got closer to the launch, things became more intense. Kind of like when a woman's giving birth, she's having contractions. The closer she gets towards actually the grand finale, the baby coming out, like the launch, the more intense the contractions get. So we've been working on this for a year, but the closer I got to launch day, and then immediately after launch day, the more intense everything got. And there were 3 lessons that I learned, that I've been seeing amongst these ultra elite businessmen and also students of knowledge that I've always heard but never really actualized and implemented. But I learned them in this last month. And interestingly enough, I actually read a book on each and every single one of these. And it's literally the out of the last 4 books, 3 of them dealt with one of these principles each. And it's just so amazing that it came at the right time. I also make istikhara before I read a book, so that Allah Azza wa Jal guides me to exactly what I need to learn at that particular point in time. Because when you take out time to read something, that's hours of your life you're going to put into a particular book, and I need to be guided to the absolute best thing. So I believe there's a lot of barakah that came from istikhara, that literally at the time of the launch, within like a 3 to 4 week period, out of the 4 books, 3 of them, literally I learned the most powerful principles for, I don't want to use the word productivity, because I don't believe in this concept of productivity. I think it's whack. Productivity, like, hey, let me just be productive and just get everything done. No, but in terms of efficiency, 3 things that help you have high impact, high achievements, and you just get things done. So these are not things that are, forgive me for my French, sexy. They are also not the kind of things that you're probably ever going to click on a video to ever watch. But I'm going to share it with you anyway. You know why? Because it's the boring stuff that moves the needle forward. It's the boring stuff that made these guys inside of our network 7 to 9 figure entrepreneurs, investors, and senior corporate executives. And it's that I want to share with you. So the first thing is the concept of essentialism, right? Essentialism. What on earth is essentialism? Now, people call this different things, right? Some call it leverage, some call it the 80-20 rule. I like the 80-20 rule. Let's use that. So there are like, out of all the things that we do, let's just use, your business, for example. Like, how many different activities are you doing in your business? If you have a project management tool, Asana or, ClickUp or Monday or whatever have you, right? On any given day, you're going to have multiple different activities that have been assigned, things that you need to do. Are all of those equal? No. How many of those have the greatest impact on your bottom line, right? Let's just say you're measuring things by revenue. Okay, how many of those things are actually responsible for the majority of your revenue? You'll probably be able to identify that there's going to be a 20%. There's going to be roughly about a 20% that produces 80% results. That 20% is essential, right? It's essential. It's the thing that you can't do without. It's the thing that it's the thing that if you just 5x that, you would literally, let's just say 20% brings about 80% results. If you 5x that, it's 5 times 80, like in terms of results. If you just took away the other 80% work that you do, that only produces 20% results, and just 5x the 20% that produces the 80% results, actually, you're exponentially growing. And that's why one of the senior corporate executives of Microsoft, I forget his name, but he references in the book, he mentions that the top 1% of employees are not just 10 times better than your average employee. They're not just 100 times, they're not just 1,000 times, but they're 10,000 times better than your average employee. When you look, for example, at the top 1% or top 5% of books in terms of, the ones that are sold in the market, they account for about 90% of the revenue of all books ever sold. Like the top 1-2% of books accounts for 90% of all books sold. To show you the concept of when something is like really, really essential, when it's really great, when it's done very well, it doesn't just produce, it doesn't produce linear results, right? It doesn't just produce high results in a linear fashion. It produces high results in a compounding fashion. It multiplies. So linear will be like addition, but compounding is like multiplication. So the whole idea here is to work out what is essential. And you can't work out what's essential without spending time to think. So last week, since we had just launched, and when you've launched, right? Like before launch, there's no marketing, there's no sales, right? And there's no fulfillment. It's just building the product. But suddenly overnight, when you launch your network, it's sales, it's marketing, it's building the product, it's fulfillment, and then all of these things, I've got to manage them, right? And make sure everything's growing and all the problems are being fixed. And I was like, I got really overwhelmed, and I was like, wait, 1 second. Where do I place my focus? And I literally spent 2 days where I didn't do any work. I just thought. As the book mentions, I just explored. And his point here is this, is that, you could spend like 2 days doing like 8 hours of work on 16 hours across both days, right? And it might sound ludicrous. Wait, let me just think. But he's like, imagine you actually spent 2 days thinking, exploring, evaluating, journaling, writing things down, asking questions. And you came to the conclusion that this one thing, it's not going to produce me 16 hours worth of results. If I work for 16 hours, I get 16 hours worth of results. No. This one thing, if I spent 90 minutes on this one thing, I'm going to get 50x results, 100x results. But it's about working out what that one thing is. And one of the things that he mentions, that how do you explore, is number one, to think, to reflect, but then there's also the concept of discernment, which is working out what is the wisest thing to do, working out what's the most essential thing to do. So what I did is that, because what I'd usually do is I'd come up with a great idea, I might discuss it with someone on the team, then I assign it as a task. So we have a project management tool called Asana, where you can have different projects, marketing, sales, so on and so forth. You can break each one down to things. So I created a project for myself called the discernment shelf. discernment, or to discern, is to look at things and just work out, wait, which is the best thing to do, which is the wisest thing to do, which is the most essential thing to do. So I started just uploading, like, as in, imagine 2 days of just thinking, where should my focus go? Where should my business's focus go right now? Right? And how, and okay, now I know the place that the focus should go, but then what should I actually do? So where should it go? And then what should I then do? So I just started just putting all these ideas on my discernment shelf, as in just typing them out. And then suddenly I've got so many ideas. I've got so many different things. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be creative stuff that was already in the back of my head, stuff I need to do. But then, now this is the real science, right? Is when I've got to come and just think to myself, okay, what do I eliminate? What do I eliminate? One of the points that he mentions in the book, he brings a quote from Thomas Sowell, an economist. He says, there are no solutions, only trade-offs. I.e., I want to do all these things on my discernment shelf, but they're not all essential. There's going to be 20% of them are going to produce 80% of the results. So I've got to work out what I'm going to kill, what I'm going to cut, what I'm going to just eliminate. Assalamu alaikum, it's gone, dead, done. And that is hard to do. That's the beauty, that's the science, right? And I'm really enjoying this process, because already, like, just by, and it sounds so crazy, I spent the whole day thinking, I mean, of course, yeah, I did shadow work throughout the days, responded to messages, had some meetings, had some phone calls, but in terms of my deep work, I said, you know what, I'm just going to think. And right now I've got such an amazing plan, because I realized that there are two main areas where my focus should go, right? The one, that's events for the members inside the network, live events and offline events, just making an absolutely wild experience for everyone inside the network. Just basically, what we realize is that these guys just want deal flow. In the network, people just want deals. They just want, like, I've got a product, service, I need big clients. That's a deal. I want investment opportunities. That's a deal. I want strategic partnerships. I want to have access to powerful people, lawyers, tax consultants. These are all deals. So most people don't want to go through the pleasantries of, like, hey, let me talk to you and build a friendship. But let's just get straight to it. I want to be friends, of course, but I'm here to solve a problem. So creating events that are just centered around deal flow and connections and outcomes. That is literally the core of why people join the network. So I'm going to create events around that. And then the second thing is lead generation. Just need to get more and more people through out the door. And how do we generate those leads? Again, different ideas. Point is that this discernment shelf helps me then now look at everything and evaluate. And the discipline of being patient with the process ultimately results in a great outcome. Think of it like a rubber band, right? Further back I pull, the greater the snap. Right? So what I've been doing over the last couple of days is just pulling the rubber band back a little bit more, so I can have the harder snap at the end of it. As opposed to just putting it here every day a little bit, and then it's a light snap. That's what we do every day, light snaps. But I want to make big impact. And that requires this process of essentialism. So this book was recommended to me by my coach, Fawaz, Live by Design. And I didn't listen to him when he told me to read it. But another one of his students and mentees, Brother Abu Nuh, when he heard that I hadn't read the book, may Allah reward him, he gifted it to me. He got it delivered to my house. And it's been one of the best books I've ever read. So that's the first thing, essentialism. So what's the second thing? The second thing is the concept of satisficing. Now, I'm a person who's got ADHD, and I'm also a perfectionist, right? Which is like a terrible combination. My brain's always ticking, and I just need to do whatever things it's ticking with perfectly. And that can kind of stunt your progress. So whenever I'm looking at the network, I just want things to be perfect, right? Whenever I'm making a content piece, like even this video right now, guys, there's no preparation here. I'm literally just talking to you. And there is preparation in that I sat there, I thought about it, and I'm sharing with you like what I'm actually kind of going through, which is why there's substance. But I've been waiting to like open up a document and just write everything out in details and so on and so forth, and just have it all nice and trim and perfect and so on and so forth. And I've just been procrastinating because I haven't found the time to be able to do that. So that's where the concept of satisficing comes in. Now, satisficing is basically the in-between of being satisfied and being sufficed. Now, to be satisfied is, I'm cool. Like, are you hungry? Let me just give you some calories. Are you satisfied? I'm satisfied. Was it nice tasting? Was it amazing? I'm satisfied. But then to be sufficed is, I literally brought you the meal that is your favorite meal, just enough portions, the taste, everything, the presentation was perfect. I'm sufficed. Meaning you couldn't add anything more to this process, right? I'm sufficed. Allah says, Alaysa Allahu bikafin abda. Is Allah not sufficient for his slaves? Allah suffices you. When you're sufficed, you don't need anything else. When I'm satisfied, alhamdulillah, decent, but when you're sufficed, you can't add anything else. Now, usually we try to work towards sufficiency. I want to have a fulfillment process that is sufficed. It suffices all my members. I want to make sure that the connections that I make just sufficed. But that's really hard to do. Most people, if you think about the brands that they purchase and the places that they go, they will never say this has sufficed me, but it's consistently great. It's more than good, it's less than outstanding. It's consistently great. So imagine sufficed is great, is outstanding, sufficient is good, but in the middle, satisficed is great. So you want to satisfy. You want to make satisficing content, satisficing fulfillment. Now, sometimes you're going to suffice. Sometimes you're going to go above and beyond, right? But to go above and beyond and perfect and leave people so that they don't need anything else consistently is going to be hard. And usually it's going to stunt your growth. Most people will just be happy to engage with your content or to engage with your product and service if you're consistently great. The problem is that most people are consistently poor, let alone good. But to be consistently great, that people throw big money your way. And this was something that was, I was trying to create a service that would just suffice everyone, but it's just too hard, right? It's just too hard. And that's not even what the expectation is. Like when I talk to people on the network, they're like, bro, we're so happy. You've connected me to tax consultants that are, helping me pay like next to nothing legally. You've connected me to lawyers that are able to structure my private equity fund or, my protect my assets and wealth whilst I'm going through a divorce in a way that's really benefiting me. You've given me access to investment opportunities with venture capitalist firms that are oversubscribed, usually hard to get into. You've put me in touch with a guy who's getting me contract after contract after contract with senior corporate enterprise level entities that I would not have been able to access myself. And everyone is happy. Like they're more than happy. They're satisfied. And that was very, very liberating for me, is that you don't have to reach for perfection. Like I play paddle, right? Me and Abu Bakr play paddle. So we apply this concept of satisficing in paddle a lot. So some people just want to make trick shots. They just want to smash. They all want to do the funny stuff, right? The cool stuff. But anyone who's played paddle knows that more often than not, the ball's going to hit the net or it's going to hit the glass on a volley and you're going to lose the point. So we have this concept of, bro, let's just satisfy. We just want to get the ball over the net, right? I might not do the best shot, the most craziest shot, but I'm going to consistently, I'm not going to do the most outstanding shot every time, but I'm going to consistently try and do great shots, right? I'm going to consistently I want to get the ball over the net. So I want to get it over the net. And the overwhelming majority of times, we end up smoking the teams that we play with because, or when we do smoke them, a lot of the times it's their own mistakes. We're just returning the ball. we just keep putting the ball on the other side. I'm satisficing, I'm being satisficing in my returns. This is not a real word, so I'm struggling to like place it in actual grammatical, context and syntax and all that here. But you get the point, right? I'm just playing in a satisficing way, and that usually is enough for us to win, right? But there are some guys that are actually outstanding players, but because they keep trying to do the outstanding shot every single time, they end up losing. So this was the second thing that I learned that was very liberating. The third thing and the final thing. So you probably heard of the concept of deep work, right? Which is shallow work is work that you don't really need your mind to engage. It's stuff that you can do when you're multitasking, responding to messages on Slack, WhatsApp, messages, calls, stuff that you don't really need to lock in and focus. And there's deep work where you actually need to lock in and focus, and this is stuff that requires your brain, right? It's knowledge work, and usually the job of a CEO, like when you're strategizing, coming up with ideas, writing content, fixing problems, usually this stuff requires you to like spend hours just, academic students of knowledge, hours just focused on a particular task, and for me, I know that in my company, my value is not in shallow work. My value is in deep work, the work that requires the brain, knowledge work, the creative work, right? The work around building. Whereas Abu Bakr, his value is in a lot of shallow work, right? Operations, this, that. He's my business partner. He's able to manage this, that, connect, create systems, just do all that stuff. Mine is in like, okay, we've got an opportunity to have a potential deal for the guys inside of our network. Like for example, right? There's a brother who has got access to some of so he's a graduate of Oxford University. It's a doctor. So he's got access to the alumni, the Oxford alumni. And when I was just speaking with him, he was like, I know like guys in DP World, and I know guys here, and I know guys in Pfizer. And in terms of like the pharmaceutical medical space, like almost every big company, he knows like the big bosses. Because they're part of his alumni, and since then his network has just grown. And we've got a lot of guys inside the network that have a medical background, right? They're medical entrepreneurs or pharmaceutical entrepreneurs. They're in the health and wellness space. So this brother, alumni, he's not in our network, but he is extremely connected. So, like, we have a brother inside of our network who his business is he does regulatory work to help companies get compliant with pharmaceutical regulations so that they can manufacture, distribute, and store and transport pharmaceuticals. It's a thing, right? Like you can't just buy and sell medicine. You have to be compliant with the pharmaceutical regulations on a global level and a national level. So this guy basically just needs anyone who's who's manufacturing, selling, or transporting medicine as a client. So this brother could probably get in like 10 clients like that because he's in that space, maybe even 20, right? So there's another guy I know manufactures peptides. This guy could literally help him get distributing contracts in like so many different things. Point is that this brother right here could be a great asset in my personal, even though he isn't inside the cave, but for me to have it in my network so that then I can leverage this relationship to help all of the guys inside of our network, right? Or from that medical background. So then to show you deep work, like I need to make sure I prepare for a meeting with this brother, and I prepare on how to actually present it to him and what can I offer to him before I actually meet with him, and how can I kind of, I can just go into the meeting blind. I don't want to come across like salesy and opportunistic. No, this is a great brother. I want to serve him if he's gonna, benefit our guys. But then just the preparation for that, like that one meeting, that 1 hour that I'm going to meet with him, inshallah, that one lunch dinner I'm going to have. I want to make sure I prepare for it so well that one relationship, that one dinner is worth tens of thousands of deals, worth multiple 7-8 figures for the guys inside of our network. So that requires deep work from me. That's the long convoluted way of trying to get to the point. But that requires deep work from me to actually just prepare, think, write things out, how am I going to approach it, so on and so forth. okay, maybe the first meeting is casual. It's more of a discovery kind of meeting, get to know each other. But then the second one, let's just say we need to negotiate a particular deal. We structure something that requires deep work from me. So what I'm trying to get at here is that this concept of deep work, I explained it for those that may not be familiar, is something that's essential for something like a CEO, for most people that are going to be using their head. So I recently read the book, or actually I listened to the audiobook by Cal Newport, right? On the book on deep work. And he mentioned 4 different things that you can do in order to get into deep work, because it's very simple to say deep work, but there was one thing that he mentioned that really I took away more than anything else. And that was to create environments that are conducive towards deep work. So he actually mentioned that willpower is finite. You know, willpower is not something that just is in you, that just doesn't end, right? It's finite. Think of it like petrol inside of a car. The more I drive, the more fuel I burn. So the more decisions I have to make, the more things I have to do that are tough, the more willpower I burn, until eventually my willpower is depleted. So he mentions that, in a day, you need to have the willpower to do the deep work, but your willpower is being depleted every time you face a distraction. Now, some people don't have the willpower to fight the distraction. A phone call, a text message, an urge to go and check social media, or a post that you come across, or maybe you're on social media, but then you got to put away your wife calling you, your child calling you, blah, blah, blah. All of these things are just trying to take you out of deep work. It's like every time you combat that distraction, you've burnt some of your willpower, like you burn fuel inside of your car. And then what that eventually does is it weakens your willpower, and eventually you give in, or, let's just say you don't give in, but your willpower has been depleted. So the quality of your work is going to be a lot less, because you not only need willpower to stay away from the distraction, you need willpower to actually get the work done. So your quality of attention and actual execution is going to be poor. So what he mentions is create environments that are conducive towards deep work. Environments that will just cut off the distraction from the root. So, for example, he mentions like you don't want there to be things that can just take your distraction away. And he mentioned many things, but the thing that I benefited the most was to get a pair of headphones and put white noise on loud, and also to lock my door. So I lock the door so no one can get in. Even if no one's in the house, I'll lock it because it's psychological, right? I'll move everything off my desk, and I'll just put these headphones in, and I'll turn the white noise on, and I hear nothing but white noise. And it's just me and my Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala primarily, and the work. And it's been so effective. I remember seeing a video of Alex Ramosi saying that my biggest productivity tip that I can give you is earmuffs and a timer to just, I've given myself 90 minutes to do deep work, and I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to use these earmuffs until I do that. Or earplugs, sorry. Wallahi, this for me is phenomenal. White noise, and the only thing, I have my phone. I have the timer on there. I work in 90-minute slots of deep work. He mentions that the maximum that you could probably do in a day, if you're like an expert, is like 4 or 5 hours of deep work. Most people do less. For me, if I get 2 sessions of 90 minutes done, one in the morning, one in the evening, I feel so accomplished. And because I'm using that timer, like when you're sprinting, you're trying to beat your score. You're trying to beat your score of how much deep work you actually get done in every 90-minute slot. And you but like no distraction. There's nothing. Alhamdulillah. Nothing. I don't eat at that time. I don't drink at that time. I don't go to the toilet at that time. Get it all out of the way before or after. Just lock in. This literally cuts everything off. Of course, your phone should be on Do Not Disturb, or better yet, your phone shouldn't be anywhere near close to you. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb. You can put it on airplane mode, have the timer there. Better, to be honest, I used to have a clock. I've lost it now. This is reminding me to get it back. But yeah, you shouldn't even have your phone. Just have the clock. And it's not a time when you go on Slack. My Laptop's on do not disturb. Everything's on do not disturb. Don't call me. Don't message me. If you do call me, my phone's not in sight. It's just the work. It's my Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala. The work after him subhanahu wa ta'ala. The white noise and the timer. That's it. And you just lock in. Now, if you do these three things together, right? That the deep work that you do, you only do it based on what's essential. Thought, process, evaluate, discernment, shelf, work out what it is that I'm trying to do. What's the benefit? What's the thing that's going to be the 20% that makes the 80% results? The thing that's the power principle, where it's the top things that are not just 10 times, 100 times, but 10,000 times more effective and better in terms of output and ROI. Work that out first. Cancel everything else. Then, when I lock in deep work, no distraction, door locked, headphones in my ears, white noise, timer in front of me, just the work. That's it. And the standard that I hold myself to is not to make this a sufficing piece of work, but a satisficing piece of work. It may not be outstanding, but it will not be good. It will be great at the very least. It will be great. And holding myself to that standard. Now, that doesn't mean I'm saying don't do outstanding work. Some things require you to just be outstanding in, right? I also want to mention that point. But I'm talking about your day-to-day activity. Like sometimes there's a video I'm making, or maybe I'm writing a book, or maybe some things have to be outstanding. I should have said this earlier. But just I'm talking about in the day-to-day, like my standard doesn't drop below satisficing. Work out what's essential, lock in with deep work, and hold myself to a satisficing standard. Brothers, inshallah ta'ala, you'll get so much time. I really want to share that with you, and hopefully it was beneficial. In case any of you are wondering how you can access the 7 to 9 figure network, you can run through an application at the link below. You can find it, inshallah ta'ala, and hopefully we can get you inside and get you on your way to making some of these connections that will help you have access to the doors that are closed. The whole ethos behind this network is that there are some things that are like the 20% effort that will bring you about 80% results. The way we've made the network is that this is like less than 5% effort. But inshallah ta'ala, it can help bring about 95% results. That's actually the ethos. I want to make it as simple and frictionless as possible for you to get connections and access that can help multiply the doors, compound the opening of doors that would take you a lot longer to do if you didn't have the breadth and depth of the network that we have inside the cave and also outside the cave. With that said, may Allah bless you and put barak in all that you do. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.